is your guys' opinion? Knight, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts on Scream 6?
Well, I think we pretty much knew it was going to happen. All of us predicted that Scream 5 would do well. I mean, I think it's at like 106, 107 million worldwide right now. So it's pretty much what we thought was going to happen. But it's great to actually get that verification that it's greenlit. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I gotta admit, I'm almost as excited about this than I was with Scream 5, because now with 6, I think they really can go anywhere. So it's gonna be a nice thing to go through.
They're making a Scream 6? Why are they doing that? I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding.
What are you, toxic fan?
Right. God, that last one sucked. No, I'm kidding. I love Scream 5. I love the creative team behind it, and I'm so glad it's the same people coming back to do this one. I got the news at work, and I had like 4 more hours of my shift at my dumb part-time job, and I was like begging my boss, can I please go home? Please? Like, I want to talk about this so bad. I'm so excited. I'm literally so excited for Scream 6. I'm pumped. And once again, something I want to reiterate is like, it's the same team doing it. If it was anybody else, if they just decided to throw this team off into the side and it was like some random other director, I would have very, very little faith in this project. Just because it's like, you can't just restart at this point. You can't just restart everything that you've already built. You have to continue the Sam and Tara story, however they're going to do that, whatever. But like, if you have a different creative team, they're going to take it in a totally different direction than Radio Silence was going to. And that would suck, man. That's exactly what happened with the new Star Wars movies, and in my opinions, those are fun, just fine. They're just okay. I do want to real quickly respond to a comment, and then Fate, it's all you again. I see Jake Schubert said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Leslie Macher and Christina Carpenter, which is actually a really good question. We should probably go around and talk about that, because that's a really good. Are they going to deal with that in Scream 6? I say. I'm almost kind of on the fence about that. I like the idea of them being kind of in the background characters. Like, we know Christina Carpenter, we know a lot about her, but like, is she going to play a main role in Scream 6? I don't know. Like, I feel like it's almost better to keep that mystery alive of like, she's someone that it had in some, a fun encounter with Billy Loomis, to keep it bleak. And do we want to know more about that? Are we going to dive more into that? Is that going to be a main focus in the next film? Since a lot hashtag cancel Fate. That's great. Is that going to be a main focus in Scream 6 though? With because like, that's something a lot of people didn't love about this new movie was Force Ghost Billy. So like, are we going to continue that into the next movie? I don't know. That's a weird thing to put a focal point on, I would say. I would like to know a little more about like Stu's family though, since he's coming back.
Yeah.
You, Tyler.
You can see the steam coming out of his head. Like, never forget, Fate. Never forget.
It's all right. I mean, hey, just keep being wrong. It's okay. It's all right. It's just sad that I have to constantly be the only one on this thing that is always right, But hey, somebody's got to do that. But as far as Scream 6, of course, I'm excited. Obviously, from a fan perspective, and then from a content creator perspective, since Scream is like 98% of what I talk about, so. Of course, like that's just easy content now from a creator perspective. Gives us ammunition here on the collective as well to dive into theories and ideas and thoughts ourselves. I mean, we all knew it was coming. I mean, we were talking about it when we first started talking about Scream 5, that Scream 6 was likely going to have. If the movie was half decent, it would. So I definitely think that there's a lot of directions in which they could go with Scream 6, and I'm really excited to see which direction they decide to go, because they don't have to try to make things fit that never really fit to begin with. They don't have to, try to, this was a gap film in many cases. Like, this was connecting the past and the current, and now they can just go tell their own film. As far as, like the sister and the parents and stuff like that, I'm curious. I even did a video on Fate Decided the other day about Martha Meeks potentially getting a bigger role. Because, the Meeks twins, they survived and stuff like that, so it would make more sense to have her have a bigger part. The problem with Scream, though, is parents. Like, there's never, this entire town of Woodsboro just has parents that just leave their kids alone.
Vacay.
Weeks in on times. Like, that's always been one of the things that have bothered me the most about Scream. not that like you have to incorporate the parents, heavily, but a little bit, have a couple. Don't mess with baby is the first draft. That's great. I am facts. But,
gotta see the high school picture of that, man. You'd be like, yeah.
Most likely to debate. That was my tag.
Debate decided.
Yeah, debate is
right. I love it.
I should create a debate channel. But yeah, overall, I'm curious to see how they incorporate, like the parents and things like that, and if they even do that, or if they just kind of go their own direction. But this kind of transitions perfectly into something that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I made a video on it. Should Sidney return? But like before I let you guys answer, I feel like it's a real discussion because right now they established in Scream 5 sort of a clean break from Sidney. She's got her family, she's got her husband. The only reason she returned was because of Dewey. So she wanted nothing to do with Ghostface until Dewey died, and then once he died, then it was like, okay, I need to go and avenge him. So I feel like they have their established characters, they have everything. Dude, you guys are awesome. They have their established everything, and they really, I think they're in a perfect position to now transition and start fresh. Now, Gail, I have a video posting later today. It's already scheduled on Gail returning. She makes more sense because of her character. She's the reporter. Yes. Even she returned because she said her network thought this would be great for the show type thing. So she's an easy sort of plug-in. But Sidney is hard, and I don't want them personally trying to create a narrative that doesn't work because there's no real reason for her to be involved, or them going backwards and making it sort of center around her when, it's like now you're just rehashing the old films. Like, I would rather personally have them just cut ties, break even, do Scream 6, do their own movie with their own characters, tell their own story. We'll finally get to see what Radio Silence is made of, as far as like creating their own Scream film. That's why I think Scream 6 has potential to be so much better than Scream 5, because now that there's no ties. And I just think they just clean break, cut the ties, do their own film. And then if, in Scream 7 or whatever, you want to have a nice little Nev cameo to wrap up the trilogy or something, that makes sense. But I just don't think you can go from, Sidney having an intricate part at the end to just her maybe having a brief cameo. My only suggestion that I made in the video was it would be cool to see her maybe like a brief scene with her happy with her family. Like maybe she doesn't even have dialogue or anything. It's just like a scene of her at home with her kids, with her husband, and that kind of establishes like, okay, she is happy. Let her go be happy type thing. What are your thoughts, Knight?
Oh, man. I'm conflicted. I'm really conflicted because Nev already said she wants to come back. Radio Silence has already said they want her back. So to me, if she's going to come back and in theory have less screen time than she had in Scream 5, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I'd almost be surprised if she'd want to do that. I agree that at some point we got to cut those ties, and we've talked about that too in preparation for Scream 5. They could do it here, but from everything that we've been hearing, she's on board for the next movie, and they're on board for having her. So I'm wondering if instead of having less screen time, they might actually have her more, have her character have some more weight in the story. I don't know how, that's a whole nother story as far as theory crafting, but I love Neve Campbell and I love the character of Sidney. I really could go either way, not having her would open up everything, and I'd be very excited for that. But it just doesn't look like that's going to happen. It really doesn't. I don't know what you guys think, but according to what she's saying and what they're saying, she's ready to come back to Woodsboro. And I think maybe, I don't know, you guys might, but if there was like some type of loose game plan to like take the OG3 and let them have each movie kind of give them a little weight, each movie, okay, then I understand that. Because obviously Dewey had the weight in this movie. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that's what they're going to do, or I don't know. But it looks like she's going to be in it, and I'd be damn surprised if she's going to have less weight or less screen time than she had in Scream 5. So
I think that, she's definitely coming back. But my thing is execution is everything. I think that if they make a movie that is a year later and we go back to Woodsboro and we follow some of the same characters like Sam, Tara, the Meeks twins, like why would Sidney be there at this point? Why would Sidney or Gail be in this movie? I think if they make a movie, though, that is a direct continuation from Scream 5, like let's say the movie starts with Tara and Sam in the ambulance driving to the hospital and Ghostface attacks them when they get out, you know? Like what happens then? Where does the story go from there? Sidney and Gail are still in Woodsboro. They have to be a part of the story now if there's still more Ghostface killers on the loose. That would be interesting to me. That I would be really interested in seeing. But if they do a movie that's like a year later and like Tara's in college and all that, why is Sidney Prescott there, man? I love, and no disrespect to Neve Campbell or Courtney Cox, they make those movies so good. I mean, you can't even deny that at all. But my biggest thing is like writing her into a script where she's not necessary would be kind of odd. There's already been complaints about like people saying that the OG3 really didn't have a lot to do in this new movie, but I kind of disagree with that. I mean, they were really important to the third act, but they weren't as important or the focal point this time around, which I guess was some people's complaints. But once again, I'm just excited to be following new characters and good characters too. Like Melissa Barrera, I'm sure will have a lot more time to shine in this new movie now that they're kind of starting to figure out her character a little more. And it's going to be the same characters. Like I already said this, but like if they restart with new characters again, what the heck? What are you doing? Like, don't do that. There's no point in doing that at this point. Let's continue the Sam and Tara story and see where that goes. Because there's still a lot you could do with that. There's still like she's Billy Loomis's daughter. Right. There's so much you can talk about there. What's the Macher family up to? Who else is part of their clan? Are they upset about Vince dying? I want to know. That would be kind of cool. But
there are a lot of directions they can go, for sure.
Exactly. But the biggest thing is, if she doesn't come back, it's not going to be the end of the world, I don't think. If they make a movie that's a year later and she's not in the next film, I feel like it would be kind of weird at this point, especially because Neve Campbell expressed interest. So I definitely see her coming back. But I don't think I would mind a new Scream film without them, as long as it had good characters. Because something I preach on my page is that one of the most underrated things about the Scream films is their characters. The characters are always likable across the board in all 5 films. That's something they have to bring to Scream 6 as well, if they're going to continue that, especially without the legacy characters.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously if Neve wants to come back, she's coming back. You don't tell Neve Campbell. Like, I think it was Blucka that had the thing on a cross that came across where he said, doesn't Neve get to dictate that? He's right. I mean, it's the case. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I mean, if she wants to come back, you bring her back. It comes down to what the overall story is. Like you said, Jake, execution is everything. If Neve is I don't want them to go backwards, is my point. Like, I don't want them, Neve say, I'm in, write it, because there's already talks that she's already in negotiations, that she's one of the first people they're talking to, which makes sense because you want to establish, do we have her or not? Because that dictates which direction you go. So based on her answer, if she wants to come on board, of course you bring her on. It's a tricky spot to be in because you don't want to have Neve in the film just for the sake of having her in the film. She has to have some significance in the Ghostface plot, right? Because that's why we want to see her be the badass Sidney Prescott that she is. We don't want to see her as just like the therapist at the high school now. That's like, everyone, it was great. We want to see her, get involved, and it's just like at this point, how do you get her involved? I mean, obviously that's the job of the writers. That's their job to figure that out. But it's just like the only reason she got involved in the first place in Scream 5 was because of Dewey. So it's like there's no more Dewey. So now do you kill Gail? What route do you go?
I don't want to go down that route like the Star Wars sequels. Exactly. Every movie we lose a legacy character.
And we don't need to do that with every single franchise.
Right. I think we've learned our lesson from Star Wars. I hope so.
Well, if this film So the thing is, though, is that because there's going to be such a short gap between, Scream 5 and Scream 6, like maybe it does pick up, say, a month or so later. Maybe it connects. Maybe they directly tie it in. Maybe there was a third killer or something like that, and that's why Nev gets involved, because she's like, Sidney, gets involved because she's like, it wasn't over. I thought it was over. It's not over. I still need to do, whatever. I don't know. Like, but if there isn't a large gap, because like you said, Jake, if this takes place a year later, it's like, what's the point? I believe it was, it was Blicka Blicka in my live stream yesterday. He actually made an interesting suggestion that was how Gail said she wanted to write a book about Dewey. Like, what happens if she stayed, like Gail stayed in Woodsboro to write the book, and then I also added on, well, Dewey in the extended cut of Scream 4, Dewey suggested, why doesn't Sidney and Gail write the book together? So what if they're in Woodsboro writing the book together about Dewey, and then that sort of becomes the story?
They can go to his trailer or whatever, be like checking out his place and reminiscing about him. I can understand that.
As they're trying to do this book, boom, Ghostface comes in, and now they're kind of just thrusted into this whirlwind type thing. Another suggestion was also.
I'll say that's a bit of a stretch, though.
It is a little bit. But the other suggestion, which I thought was kind of cool, was maybe a Dewey memorial. I had somebody in the comment section that said, what about a Dewey memorial, a month or so later, a couple months later, and Sidney
returns. That's kind of the same thing that for the last movie, though, they came to Woodsboro.
But that's my point. It's like, how many options do you have to incorporate Sidney? Gail makes perfect sense.
Right. Well, and I don't know, you guys let me know, but I think really the only way that it would work, one, is that if it's a short gap between the movies, like you were saying, Jake, she's still in Woodsboro, and it makes sense, because she doesn't leave and have to have a reason, to come back. So the time jump has to be minimal, if at all, right?
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, Fate, but if she's in it, and we assume, and I'm just assuming, I could be totally wrong, but if we're assuming she has at least as much weight as she did in Scream 5, or more, which I think is, I would think she'd have a little bit more.
You have to if you have her, you got to have her.
Then either one of two ways it's got to go. Either something with Sam and Tara that, Sidney obviously still has a connection with them, or, like you're fretting, they got to have something from the past, or somehow we find out, like you said, maybe a third killer, mastermind, whatever. Those are like the only ways I could see her working in this movie, at least now, right unscripted, Yeah.
I'm gonna say something, and I hate saying this, but I could see it happening. So again, I have to be honest. If they go the Stu route, that's an easy way to get her back. I hate even having to say that, because it's
only Steven was here.
Why did I not record this? This is not
gonna, I'm not saying it's gonna happen. It makes no sense.
Someone clip this. Clip this moment.
It happened.
No, hey, look, believe me, I'm not on the Stu train. Stu is not coming back.
But if he did,
one of the big things we've talked about is fan service, and we are in the age of fan service. We've talked about that. It's true. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But
did you read Tanisha?
I decided to get new subscribers almost 6,000 been given today. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I know. My subscriber count just skyrocketed probably. Like, he's here.
You go back to your channel, you have like 100K. You're like, what?
And then all of a sudden your first video will be like, yes!
If I was on the Stu train, I would probably have at least 1,000 more subscribers. I swear. It's not even an exaggeration. I probably would. But I want to clarify. I absolutely hate the idea of Stu coming back. It's a terrible idea. It makes no sense. But if they try to find a way to make him come back, and they really do go that route, well, then that's an easy way to get Sidney back. Because, you have the big showdown. She's only returning because she finds out Stu's still alive. Whatever the case would be. I think it's absolutely stupid, but it's something that could happen if they went that route. Again, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's definitely something. No, I'm not on the.
I don't know, man. Your sounded kind of sus, bro. No, but listen, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, honestly, I I wouldn't mind it just because like they already retconned stuff in Scream 5 to make some of that stuff work. Yeah, so like if they retcon some stuff from the past, which I know a lot of people would have a problem with immediately, it could work. You know what I mean? Like you could just film a scene real quick with Matthew Lillard where he escapes at the end of the original Scream. That, like I said, very controversial, very polarizing to fans, but I wouldn't put it past these new movies, you know? Like they got to do something crazy and along those lines. And like why did they they put that in the movie for a reason. The whole, is Stu Macher still alive? Oh, the real scene.
They talked about it in interviews. They said that this thing has exact fandom. It's about the toxic fandom. This whole movie was about fandom and conspiracies and toxic fandom.
That's such a hidden Easter egg, man. You gotta look for that. You gotta look for it. They're saying something. Real quickly. So there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I hate all of
so funny. I'll say one more thing because, like, once again, I'm right in the middle with the Stu thing. I like to joke around and be like, "Oh, it's definitely happening." But like, the biggest thing about why I think it's going to happen, like I said, not necessarily like it's not a thing I really want to see. It's not something I'm really against, but I think it's going to happen because, like, once again, we're in the golden age of fan service. The other thing, probably the biggest thing I want to bring up is the fact that look at Halloween 2018. There are little tiny throwaway lines that set up things for Halloween Kills. Like the dude who's running around through Halloween Kills and ends up like jumping out of the window at the hospital. He's like in the very beginning scene of Halloween 2018 and they briefly mention him. Like, you know, one little exchange between Aaron and Dr. Sartain. So are they doing the same thing with Scream 2022, where it's this little tiny hidden Easter egg that you would totally miss the first time you watched it? Is that going to come back to be something massive in the next film? Like I said, I can see it happening. I don't know if that's the route they're going to take, though. I wouldn't be against it, though.
My problem is why that type of setup? You know, like if they were going to set up Stu returning in a future film, whether it's 6 or whatever, you would think that it wouldn't be a conspiracy. Did Stu survive type thing? It would be something concrete that we know because there would be public information that Stu survived. Like, that's my biggest thing. And even like, me and Craven had the debate. Like, my biggest thing is that like all the theories, even his theories, are all stipulating that no one knew that he survived. It makes no logical sense.
There's also. You can go ahead, Knight. Sorry, I've been talking.
Well, this isn't 1970, you know? Right.
Well, it was in 1996 though when it happened, though. Don't forget.
Yes, but there was still technology. There was still fingerprinting. There was still all kinds of stuff. There was huge.
Sure, but it's not like today where there's a camera everywhere. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can't the public without being filmed. In '96, totally different story.
He would need medical attention. There's no way he's running in the wilderness and surviving.
Yeah, you're right.
So he's going to have to go to the hospital, which means that there are records of him either living or dying, whatever the case may be.
What is that?
And then he's going to a penitentiary, and he's going to end up triple life. How do you... Richard Pryor. Go sit down. You're supposed to be busy, Craven. No, it's time for you.
Choo-choo.
Get rid of him. But my point is, because that's my biggest complaint with like Craven's argument, with everyone's argument that I've seen. It's all stipulating on this like crazy circumstances happening. It's unrealistic. Like now you're getting away from what Scream is inherently, which is realism. I love the realism of Scream. And if they could come up with a realistic way, like say he was in prison, it was public record, and he just got released, whatever the case may be, and they can kind of like piece it together through flashbacks or something like that, then maybe. But overall, there has to be some believability to it. You can't just say, "Oh, here he is."
I think what they could do, and of course, we always have to suspend disbelief with a lot of this stuff, anyways. Just like, you know, the different killers and their real height and all that type of stuff. But if they sit there and say, "Hey, you know, he was put in a loony bin or whatever, yada yada yada," I mean, let's be real, man. I don't think anyone's sitting there counting the days that he's been incarcerated. You know what I mean? Like at some point you just move on. Or I'm just saying this is one way that they could kind of like flub it over. Like, and I think that would be good enough movie logic. You know, I'm not saying that it's great, but I'm just saying if they're going to go that route, like you said, Fate, they've got to explain, well, where has he been at the whole time?
Yeah.
How
How
come
do we get from A to Z?
Right, and how come he was never mentioned? But again, like if he was, you know, put in the loony bin, they threw away the key, and so forth and so forth, there's no reason to really talk about him anymore. You know, it's different. It's different. Well, I don't want to say it's different because I was going to say, you know, like someone like Michael Myers versus Stu, you know, but anyways, like I said, I think that they'll probably write it that way. Somehow just make it seem like nobody talked about him. Nobody cared. He was old news. You know, he killed a couple of people. He was crazy. They threw him, you know, locked him away and threw away the key. You know,
I'll say this because we can talk about Stu all night. So
yeah, that's true.
I'll throw in
throw
one
the
more
gauntlet
thing.
down.
One more thing I will say about that is like in Kevin Williamson's original Scream 3 pitch, that was the idea. Like I know we brought that up multiple times before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I could see it as a way of honoring Wes Craven to like try to recreate his original plan for the trilogy. I could see that happening. But if that's not the case, like if they don't end up doing it, it's not going to break my heart, honestly. It would be cool to see Matthew Lillard back. I love Matthew Lillard. He's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But, like, at the same time, it's not going to break my heart if they don't do that in Scream 6 or potentially Scream 7 if Radio Silence makes this a trilogy. Now, last thoughts on Scream 6 because I do kind of want to talk about Texas Chainsaw. I'm very excited for that and coming in 2 weeks. Do you guys, so 2 questions real quick. Do you guys think that it's going to be coming in 2023 since they're starting production this summer? And do you think it will be better than Scream 5? Fate, go nuts.
Yes. So first off, yes. I do think that this has the potential to be the better of Scream 5 and 6. I definitely do. I think it will come out in 23. I think it just depends. As long as everything's smooth sailings, I could see them releasing it January 23 because they said that they're going to start filming in summer. So let's say June, you know, so they'll be finished filming by like August, you know, September. And then that gives them, you know, a couple months to get it out. I would, however, personally, I wouldn't mind if they waited till like January 24 or like, you know, the end of, you know, 23 just to, you know, get the marketing and everything down, like really take the time to pump this out. Because the difference between this and Halloween Ends is Halloween Ends was already ready to go. You know, they already had everyone signed up. They already had everything to go. Because I've had people suggest that, like, oh, well, Halloween Ends is coming out and they just started filming. And I'm like, yeah, but they had already, this was already planned. They announced the trilogy when they announced 18. So I was like, they already had the story. They already had everything lined up, all the characters on board, everything. They're just adding maybe, you know, Sarah Michelle Gellar might be, you know, coming back or might be coming, not back, but in the film, that kind of thing. So now they're just doing the add-on. So it's easy for them to pump it out in October. Where Scream, they are literally have to write, do everything. They might have some of the story and idea in which they go, but they got to get all the characters. Like they're literally starting from scratch. So I don't want them to force it for the sake of just forcing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there's one thing that I quickly wanted to add. And Knight, you could cover them all, and then Jake, you could just tag on at the end, and then we can transition. But do you think that they'll re-release Scream 5 in theaters when all of them open back up?
What do you mean?
So, you know, like right now, all the theaters, there's tons of theaters that are closed down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, like when
we're getting it for Paramount Plus. You know, we're getting the Paramount Plus release, all that stuff. Do you think that Scream 5, like say in May or something like that, if everything's open back up, they might re-release it to those theaters that never got the opportunity, or maybe do a run, or do you think they'll just leave it as Paramount Plus?
You know, if it wasn't going to Paramount Plus, I'd say yes, but because it's going there, like March 1st? Is that what it is? I want to say
February 28th. Yeah, February 28th. Yeah, 28th.
It's a day off.
The DVD's supposed to come out March 1st, I believe.
That's what, okay. Yeah. No, April something.
Or,
April 4th or something.
Maybe
yeah, that'd be funny if it was April 1st and it just didn't come out. No. I would say, right. I would say yes I would say yes if it wasn't going to Paramount Plus, but because it's going there, probably not. And that sucks because I know a lot of people in Canada were unable to see the film in theaters, which, man, that's a shame. That really sucks. So, Knight, I'll let you take the floor, though.
Yeah, but it also, I mean, I agree with you because I think if it didn't come out on Paramount, then, that would have been a whole different story. But that also speaks to how well this movie did. I mean, still getting over 100, and it's still going, so getting over 100, 106, $107 million, that is kick ass, man. So I'm really excited about what this means for the franchise. But I think that there's a chance. I got this feeling that, not that they're going to rush it, but I got this feeling that they're thinking, hey, let's just hit the ground running. Let's get this thing going. Personally speaking, I agree. I think they should wait a little bit longer, late 2023, something like that. Get time for it to ramp up the marketing. The other thing, too, and it's just maybe for me as a fan, I also want to miss things a little bit, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I get to the point where the next one comes out so quickly, not that I'm not going to see it, but I don't get a chance to really miss it, And I think, and I know that business-wise, they'll probably think differently, but if it were me, I'd like it to be at least late 2023, at least. And that's, like you were saying, Fade, as long as everything goes well with the filming and the pandemic and all that type of stuff, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I'd like to see it come late 2023 if it were up to me. Even early 2024. There's no rush.
I think the January release really helped Scream, and so I feel like
no competition.
If you're gonna rush, and because I think they realize that too. So I think that if they can, they're gonna release it 23 January. But I would rather them get it right. Don't, because you have a real opportunity here to continue this franchise and make several movies, even if you want, or you have a chance to just lose everybody. And I would rather them take the time to gain that audience, gain that fandom, and get it right, and just say, you know what, we're going to release it January 24, and then now you have an extra 6 months or whatever to really hype up the marketing, which they did fantastic. So
I agree.
I'll say one thing. I see a lot of people in the chat saying, "Oh, they got to release it in January because it was so successful." It was so successful in January for a few reasons. It came out on a holiday weekend, and there was no competition. That's why and also because of the awesome marketing campaign, and it was just a great movie in general. There's that as well, but the best time to release
pandemic.
And the pandemic, no, there's definitely that as well. My thing though is I feel like they should just release this maybe in October, man. I mean, there's not going to be a new Halloween film. Blumhouse might have their new Exorcist movie come out, but I'm going to be honest, I don't think too many people are going to get excited for that as they will with a new Scream or Halloween. I'm very, very on the fence.